Hey y'all, welcome to Psychonaut Sessions, your home for all things psycho. This is Daniel Moeller, and today I'm going to talk about my own book, the Simon Myth Chronicles Broken Chalice. Simon Myth is a comic book series that I have been working on for the past couple of years. And the story is about Simon Myth, who is a Gnostic wizard that lives in a world where magic is legal. It's being regulated by the government, but it's still fairly new. That whole concept is like the law for magical regulation just got passed, and there's a new um, area in the government, department in the government called the Department of Anomalous Affairs and Thaumaturgy, otherwise known as DAAT. Dot, if you know what that is in esoteric lore. Kudo points to you. Um, and It's a very new department of the government that Simon is working for. And there was an experiment that he worked on a specific project. Things went wrong, and now there are all sorts of like holes and punctures in reality, where the astral realm is like pushing through. And Simon, when we first meet him, is in the process of fixing all those aberrations or anomalies. So I thought I would just kind of go through a little bit my process of creating the book. I'm actually a little bit over my halfway point. I have 4 issues so far. Hopefully by the time this video drops, issue 4 will be available for sale. Right now, definitely you can get issues 1 through 3. I have 3 more issues planned. I originally had this planned out as kind of like an 8 or 9, possibly even a 10 issue series. But I'm trying to parse it down to kind of simplify the story a little bit more. And also not go through all these other tears. So this is actually based upon this particular storyline. The Broken Chalice is based upon a novel that I wrote. So it's got a lot of different story threads and elements in novel form as I'm like transliterating it from that novel to comic script. I'm having to like parse down, okay, what's actually important here. I can't just go all over the place like you can in a regular novel. But Simon Myth is actually a character that I created a long time ago. Even back in my college days, I had an iteration of him, and he really didn't come to full fruition until right around 2010, 2011. And somewhere out there on the internet, back when I had a blog spot, you can even find some Simon Myth stories at around the 2012 era. And so he's kind of grown. I've written about 2 or 3 different books, but I was never happy with the books. They always stayed in a draft form. Just never it never got to where I really wanted it to be. There was something about it that wasn't really connecting for me. And as I started doing Psychonaut Presents and getting back into doing comics the past like 5 years or so, my wife was like, I think Simon is supposed to be a comic. And anybody who's been married for any length of time knows, always listen to your wife. And lo and behold, she was right. As soon as I started drawing Simon Myth in comic form, I was very happy with it. Very satisfied with the output. It feels right. It feels like everything's coming together. It's got the look and feel that I want without having to go into long, wordy descriptions. Here's the insignia of the Department of Anomalous Affairs and Thaumaturgy. Again, if you know Dot and if you know this symbol, this is actually like the invisible Sephiroth on the Tree of Life, otherwise known as the 11th Sephiroth. There's really supposed to be 10, but Dot is kind of like this invisible sphere on the astral Tree of Life, the Kabbalah Tree of Life that kind of resides in the area of the abyss. It's like that final threshold that you have to cross in order to get into the supernal realms. All of this will start kind of coming into fruition in the story. The first 4 issues are very much kind of setting up what's going on in the Simon Myth universe. It takes place in the San Luis Valley, Colorado, so it's got a real world setting, and it is all the places are kind of made up, but there are some actual places too that reside in the San Luis Valley, but the towns and everything are all accurate. It's one of my favorite places on earth, the San Luis Valley. I love it there. It is absolutely like a home, a second home to me. And one fun thing that I'm doing with the Simon Myth books is that I always keep trying to find an independent artist that I admire, and acquiring commissions from them to have as a pinup gallery. So by the time I do a trade, I'll have a whole gallery of works from these amazing artists. The first one was Matt Lesniewski with this incredible drawing of Simon Myth. And then each comic will also have a map of the San Luis Valley. So when certain towns are referred, or areas, you'll know where they reside on the map. So this is actually a true to life map of San Luis Valley. There are no fictions here. So yeah, 4 issues in. Thought I'd share a little bit of my process. As I said, this was actually all written out in novel form, and this is actually just a composition notebook. It's all taped up and stuff. It's just like this thing has been through the ringer. It's got coffee stains on it. And this is actually kind of like the write-up of and my thumbnails of taking that script. So I basically just like look at my book script, my actual prose, and I just go through and I start thumbnailing it all. And I generally have like a pretty decent idea of what I want to accomplish in each issue. Usually on separate pages, I will kind of like diagram out, okay, this is what I want in this issue, so that will include this chapter and that chapter of the book, and I take these parts of those chapters and ra-ta-ta-ta-ta and turn those into the chapters of the comic series, which one issue equals a chapter in the comic series. So it's like condensing things down. And then I just thumbnail it out. So it looks like pen, and it is, but I actually start out in pencil, and I go through different iterations in pencil, and different iterations of like the panel breakdowns and who's saying what. And then when I feel confident about the final iteration or draft of that, of like how I want to transpose it, I'll go over it and just ballpoint pen real quick, just so that it doesn't smear or fade away in time, over time with the with the pencil. But yeah, that's basically the process. And then I'll just take this and I'll go directly off of this whenever I'm drawing on the page. And so I actually started with a 9x12 paper for the first issue, and then I ended up going, this is like so big, going 11x14 for issues 2 and 3, and that paper size was, as I'm knocking the camera, the paper size got to be a little too big for me. You know, the one thing that people don't think about is the larger the paper, the more real estate you have to cover. So, and I don't have a whole lot of time. You know, I work full time. I'm a family man, so I've got, only so much time until we kick the bucket on this planet, right? So I've got projects I want to complete. So whatever I can do to expedite my time that I'm spent drawing and ink washing, I'll do it. So I actually went back down for issue 4. I went back down to 9x12. And my process is I'll take what you saw there, and I'll draw that out in pencil on the page. I will kind of play with the panels a little bit. They won't necessarily be 100% what's replicated on that page, so I might experiment a little bit more, because what looks good in a thumbnail versus what will look good on the page, it's a little different. So I'll play around and try to experiment some. But I don't really go heavy with pencils. I just kind of get the basic layout and where the characters are going to be, and then I'll usually do the lettering right after that, and get the lettering done, because I letter directly on the page, and then I just go in with the inks, and I'll do the drawings after I know where the people are going to be and what things are going to look like. Then after that, I'll go in with the ink wash. I have found a paradoxical relationship with ink washing. I love the way it looks, especially when it's printed. The process of doing it bugs me. It's nerve-wracking. It's ink, so it's permanent. So if you mess up with the wash, things can look funky. Although the mess ups look kind of cool, because I kind of want things to look a little rough. But I don't know. It's just a nerve-wracking process. And I don't know if there's a better way to do it digitally. I'm not really interested in doing it digitally. But that's, I think it all turns out looking really great, personally, when you get to the final page. So here's some snippets of issue 4, which I have not shown off yet. So if you are a fan of the book, you're getting a little bit of preview of what's happening in issue 4 there. So yeah, I've got issue 1. We establish everything. These characters rise out of the ground after some earthquakes, after Simon's trying to fix some astral anomalies, and these characters are antagonists rising out of the ground after these earthquakes break open the ground. And then Simon in this one is trying to figure out, okay, what is this stuff? So he's trying to diagnose the situation. One of those ways in which he does that is through magical means. He goes on a walkabout in the San Luis desert. So that was a really fun sequence. I really enjoyed this a bunch. I got to really bring in a lot of like my magical psychedelia aspects of my artwork. And so I have Matt Lesniewski did the pinup for issue 1. Issue 2, the pinups are by Outlaw Comics, Power Comics legend Tony Lorenz, and Independent Comics legend Eli Schwab did a Simon Myth comic. So that's a ton of fun. Issue 3, we get introduction to some more antagonists, because there's multiple people kind of converging onto the San Luis Valley, trying to figure out what the heck is going on. Something is happening here. Really dark cover, but I really enjoyed making this cover a lot. And so Simon finds a girl who's kind of the source of the earthquakes through his walkabout, meets her at the diner called the Brazilian. If you read any of my earlier Simon Myth stuff, like the short stories, the Brazilian is a kind of a famous diner in the Simon Myth universe, so that'll come into play later. And then the gallery items here come from another outlaw legend, Ken Landgraf, another independent comics legend, Brian Payne, and then Sam Sahonis of the Transmigration of Philip K. and the Land of the In-Betweeners fame. Some really cool stuff, so that just like the pinups are building and building and building. And then issue 4, which again I hope will be out. It's already submitted to the printer, so hopefully it'll be out by the time this video comes out. We get a little more backstory into our antagonists that came out of the ground. What's going on there, and how they are starting to be connected to Simon and Crindle, who's another character, and Maxwell, yet another character. And then we also have kind of like the only color in this is these characters that are dressed in red suits. This actually ties into my novel, my prose novel I wrote called Red Mass, into these characters called Red Agents from the Order of the Red Hand. They're like a shamanic, psychedelic, revolutionary counterpart or counter adversary to the Men in Black phenomenon. So they're kind of like good guys that are trying to keep things weird, to not let the populace forget the weird and the sacred and the magic of things that are happening. And the reason why this takes place in the San Luis Valley, here's an actual place in the San Luis Valley called the UFO Watchtower. It's a real place. I've been on vacation there before, because the San Luis Valley is like a hotbed of UFO phenomenon, of all kinds of other like astral, weird, supernatural phenomenon. It's actually the first recorded place of any sort of cattle mutilation. A lot of people think it's Skinwalker Ranch, but it's not. It's the San Luis Valley. So very interesting place anyway. So it's a great setting. The Great Sand Dunes are very mystical themselves. And then the individual who provided a pin-up on this one is Adam Lemnot of Relic Hunter fame, the one and only. Really cool iteration of Simon here, based upon an old Philip K. Dick novel. And I started actually identifying in this map the different things that are happening, the different locations, like Simon's house, the UFO Watchtower, the Brazilian diner, where they reside on the map, so people can start kind of like keeping up. And I always have like, what's coming up in the next issue sort of thing. And I actually have, right now, you can go out to my website, and there's a place under the Simon Myth page where you can start actually getting some Simon Myth Pro stuff that is a prequel to what's coming up in the next issue. So the next issue, we're going to get into some background of like our main characters, the main protagonists, the Simon Myth crew. I made the image of the issue sideways. I wanted to do that. I thought it would be fun. So the next issue is actually going to be a little bit about their past and how everything got started with the Chalice. And that prose stuff that I'm starting to publish on my website is actually even a prequel to that. So you'll get some more background stuff that was like in the book, to kind of supplement while you wait for the next issue. So just some fun stuff. So you should check it out. It's a labor of love. This has been a passion project of mine for a very long time. I am completely in love with these characters. They live in my head all the time, but they're now starting to ease up at screaming at me, because I'm starting to bring them forward into the world. And definitely I think they're all happy with this output, with the way I am producing the book so far. Plans are that there will be 3 more issues of this Broken Chalice series. 5, 6, and 7. After that, Simon Myth won't end. I have 2 other major stories planned for the Simon Myth chronology, as it were. So hopefully I will get to the point in my life where I'll be able to finish those as well, because I got a lot to say. This character's got a lot going on. Really enjoyed sharing this with you all. I hope that you've enjoyed the series so far. If you've not picked it up, you can get a link in the description. You can go out to my website, to my shop, and you can buy the first 3 issues at least. Hopefully by the time the video drops, issue 4 as well. So you can get them all and enjoy it. Let me know what you think. Give me some feedback. Really appreciate everybody's time for me to walk through all this. Love you all. Love all my Simon Myth fans out there. I've got some, and I adore you and appreciate you. Like, subscribe, hit the bell for more notifications, and keep it psycho.